Piper has been seeing a lot of usage lately in Zenless Zone Zero, and for good reasons too. She's really strong because of her spin attack, and she's the main contributor to disorder teams, since she's an anomaly unit capable of single-handedly triggering the assault anomaly. The main way she does this is using her EX skill, where she spins and hits the enemy multiple times, with the anomaly and damage ramping up the more she spins. Now normally, the start of this spin is somewhat slow and she needs to ramp up the speed and damage. However, if you read the skill description, I know, crazy right? You can actually combo directly into the fast spin if you use it after a string of other attacks. The question is though, does this make a difference? Well, today we're going to do some testing with Piper to see if it does actually matter. First, let's look at the baseline, a raw spin. Now, I'm actually going to cancel the skill early into the slam at roughly 75% anomaly buildup, since I know that the slam will be enough to trigger the assault, and I'll be doing that for all of the tests moving forward. Here you can see that it takes almost 7 seconds to do the full spin from the start. Now, for a comparison, we will do 3 basic attacks into the spin. As a rule of thumb, the timing for the quick spin is whenever she swings her axe over her head and it's behind her. You can see the spin starts at max speed, but it also ends off at about 7 seconds. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference, does it? Well, yes, they may have the same speed, but let's look at the damage instead. As you can see, my Piper has both her basic and skill at level 1, so it's an even playing field between the two. She also has 50% crit damage, which I will be taking into account into my following calculations. Now, looking at the 3 basic attacks, when we add up the damage caused by these hits, and taking into account the crits, like I said, her base damage done was 2060 points of damage just as she enters her spin motion, where the first tick of damage there is 239. Now, looking at the raw spin, it does a total of 8 instances of startup damage, before it eventually gets up to a similar damage number of the spin caused by the 3 basic attack chain. And that is when we see the first tick of 284 damage, which is higher than the baseline 239 that we saw earlier. Now again, taking into account the crits of those 8 hits beforehand, they all total up to 1286 damage, which is significantly less than the 3 basics from earlier. So in terms of damage, even though they take the same amount of time to execute, one does significantly more damage. But again, remember, this is a very unbuilt Piper. I have no crit rate on her, and her crit damage is only a base 50. That could be a lot higher, especially as you increase these levels, specifically on her basic attack skill. As you level Piper more and invest in her more, the difference between these 2 values will only grow bigger. But there's more to it than just that though, the damage. Using those 3 basic attacks also allow you to generate some extra energy, which might allow you to use her EX skill in the first place. We've all been there before. We switch to our character, we're ready to unload all our damage, but then we realize, oh, we don't have enough energy for our EX skill. But here in this scenario, if you're just short on energy, you can use those 3 basic attacks and you might get just enough to eke out an EX skill. Now, onto the other types of methods to get into this quick spin, that being the parry, the quick assist after a support attack, a dash attack, and a dodge counter. I think it is safe to say that whenever possible, you should almost always try to chain these into the quick spin, because you're likely already doing the other attack for whatever reason. Being it for switching characters or for dodging attacks, you may as well try and go into the quick spin sooner rather than later. You've already dedicated yourself to the first attack of the chain, you may as well spin when you can. Again, the tell for this is that whenever you see Piper swing her axe over her head and it lands behind her, just know that that is when you can, if you have the energy, do a quick spin. Hopefully though, you found this video helpful. If you did, liking, commenting, and subscribing is always greatly appreciated. I'm actually working on a video about disc farming, so subscribe to be notified about that when I eventually upload that. Until next time though, bye bye!